Amid the mass protest witnessed here in Kenya, the political temperatures continue to rise. And this far, we've seen actually the civil society chip in and air out their side of their story and what they feel can be done to make sure the country moves towards the right direction. So let's unpack some of those sentiments coming from the civil society and look whether they'll act in favor of this nation or perhaps it isn't much of significance. That is our condition today here on Siasa Brigade, your go-to point on matters politics and governance. I'm yours truly, Richard Bonjo. Indeed, a pleasure to have you on board. With me on this conversation is none other than the top political analyst this side of the Sahara, Herman Manyora. Great to see you, sir.
Good.
How are you, though? It's been quite a while.
I'm wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful.
Very well. Today you're talking about...
Thanking God every step of the way.
Thanking God. Still a staunch Muslim. Are you praying for the country, by the way?
Of course.
Your friend Raila Odinga is still committed to the mass protest. You say that there is a different currency towards addressing the issues. Have you talked to him?
Yeah, I've talked to him. But I think, because I think the best way is to find a solution that doesn't take us so close to anarchy.
We could go there?
We are already heading there.
This country could be brought down like those ashes behind us.
Beyond, this is nothing.
This is nothing?
It's nothing.
Far more than Libya came after Gaddafi.
Oh, it was. And we must advise Kenyans to listen to us.
For those who believe that
I saw Siad Barre live the day Somalia went down. 1990 or 91, about 32 years ago. They are yet to get halfway rebuilding the country. Uganda faced a military coup when I was in Form 1. Look at how old I am. They have not gotten out of it.
This same country?
Once you go that direction, once you enter that hole, coming out is never easy.
Even for this country that has been termed to be...
Forget about it. In fact, this one.
To be the Singapore of Africa.
In fact, this one, if we lose it, not even in your lifetime, maybe your children will fix it, not in your lifetime. That's the naked truth. Sudan started this thing when I was being born. The turmoil in Sudan is as old as I am.
A religious nation cannot avoid...
Look at the Middle East. Look, anytime you lose the path, badala ya kudrive kwa lami munapeleka gari kwa msitu. To get it back on tarmac, it takes generations.
It remains to be seen.
I hope not remain to be. Please don't tell viewers like that. Tell them it is true. I've given you examples all around. Tell me a country that went through this nonsense of coup d'etat and what have you and turmoil, which took 10 years to rebuild. 20. Tell me one. Just one. I don't want two. One of those countries. Just one. Tell me how walifanya hiyo ujinga na wakarudi wakawa sawa within 5 years. I'm trying to think of one. I'm not saying. It's difficult. So Somalia is doing 33 years. 32 years now. Uganda has been there from 1971. They have not gotten the act together.
Rwanda, not yet.
Rwanda, not yet. Burundi, not. All of them, you can't. DRC, Congo, not yet. You cannot get there. Once you get into that hole, to reclaim your country is not easy. Forget about my lifetime. In your lifetime, if we lose this country, we will not have sorted it out. In your lifetime.
Tanzania can even surpass us.
So, but not can. Tanzania is about surpass us. Because instead of concentrating on building this country, we are engaging in useless things that are retarding us, taking us backwards. Ethiopia has overtaken us. There are areas where Rwanda, which is around like Kiambu, is ahead of us. Tanzania is just a matter of time. In the next 5 years, pop, they will be ahead of us. Ethiopia is already ahead of us. Rwanda is ahead of us in certain aspects.
We won't be the big boys in the East African community. Once
Somalia settles, and they're about to settle, if they settle politically, there will be a giant next door.
They hit the ground. And donations.
And donations. That is why I'm telling our leaders, stop playing with fire.
We're optimistic the country won't get there. We are very hopeful. Then again, straight into today's conversation. And let me start with sentiments from Archbishop Anthony Muheri. And he says, leadership must be humane, empathetic, compassionate, and currently the leader is rough, insultive, arrogant, and imposing. message which many interpret has been directed towards President William Ruto. This coming from renowned clergyman Anthony Muheria. From a general perspective, what is your first reaction to it? Did you find reason in Muheria's sentiments?
First of all, there's no guarantee that he's talking about Ruto because leadership goes beyond the president. And leadership need not mean the ruling side. The leadership of this country is generally fits that description. The leadership, including opposition, it fits that description. So
we're here to make it better.
So I don't know whether Muheria meant Ruto or Ruto and his cabal of ministers and the rest, chest thumping, he mentioned that, or whether he means leadership in general to encompass all the players, including Raila and his team.
Could you say that probably the message is targeting William Ruto because the civil society itself and the church actually has not once or twice asked the president to actually get down and sit with Raila Odinga and make truce and find a way therein? So don't you think these sentiments are directed towards...
You can ask the president to sit down with Raila without saying those things Muheria said. It is possible the president may not be those things. And the president doesn't have to be those things Muheria is talking about for the church to ask him to sit down. It is, people are asking the president to sit down with Raila Odinga because that is the only thing you can do to save this country. There's nothing else. At the end of which, if we don't do that, there will be no country.
The Kofi Annan-led approach,
yeah.
You go to that?
I mean, why do we want foreigners to come and do things we can do on our own? What is so difficult, Ruto sitting with Raila?
You don't need an intermediate.
But now, let me tell you today, it's subject of my video, but now you have made me give a bit of it. Two things. Whether Raila likes it or not, whether Ruto likes it or not, they will sit down.
In the fullness of time.
Yes. But let them be careful to get on a table where there are chairs to sit on. They may be forced to enter a room that doesn't even have a table and they will sit on the floor.
The two of them?
Yes, on the floor. That's the first message I'm giving them. The second message I'm giving them is whether they like it or not, there will be some form of power sharing. Because they have refused to do that. If they did the right thing, that will not get there. We will not get there. They will sit down. If they don't do it today, they will do it under duress.
But don't you think yours is far imagination? Because there are guardians at the gate like Rigathi Gachagua say that one will never happen in their
But that's Gachagua saying.
As long as he's there.
Even people close to Kibaki said it will never happen, but it happened. Yeah.
Is the distributor of government shares?
I was around here when America brought its weight. When they said Jakawa Kikwete and Kibaki and Raila were still dilly-dallying. I was around here when the Secretary of State, a very powerful person in the U.S., Condoleezza Rice, when she came here, I remember her, small lady like this. She was saying there will be power sharing.
Gachagua is not enough stumbling block.
And she said, power and not illusion to power. Really power. It's just Raila gave in quickly. Otherwise, there was going to be really power sharing. She said no illusion about it. Really, those are her words, really power sharing.
It could happen again?
These are weak people. Don't ever listen to them. When Uncle Sam comes calling, they will just tremble and sign the documents, which is what I hate. It reduces me to a very weak human being. I want to be a proud human being, black and proud. A black, proud human being, a Kenyan. So when some boys come from across the world and make my leaders sit down looking like children, I feel very offended.
We can do that by ourselves.
Yeah. What is it so difficult, Raila sitting down with Uhuru?
Get Ole Sapit, get Muheria to...
What is it? They don't even need anybody. These are small matters they can sort out. Wakitoka tu na tuambia there's white smoke. We have agreed with Raila Odinga. One, he will recognize my government. 2, we are moving in the direction of reconstituting IEBC in this manner. 3, in matters of election, we are going to audit the past election. And out of that audit, we shall have way forward in terms of how we manage our elections in the future. 4, 5, blah, 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 blah. It's a simple matter.
Simple matter.
What's so difficult?
Now that we are talking about the place of church and politics in this conversation, if you go down memory lane, during the times of Desmond Tutu and other renowned clergymen, they really played a pivotal role, and their success could be measured out of it in ensuring this healthy democracy they're in. If you now compare that to this current regime in the religious side of Ole Sapit, Anthony Mheria, do you feel that they have really raised their voice enough and made substantial strides in ensuring this?
I have said this repeatedly over the years. The church had a voice when we were fighting Moi.
Mwana Nzeki and all.
Ndingi Mwana Nzeki, David Gitari, Sambodo Kulu, who else? Njoya, Reverend Njoya, Njenga, and All Saints Cathedral. You can see I can mention them. Olang. Serious. Cardinal. Yo. Civil society. Kibuda Kibwana.
Gitobi Manyara.
Yo, no, that's another category. There are 3 categories. We had the church as a voice during the struggle for the second liberation. The church had a serious voice. Alexander Muge, we must not forget. Father Kaisa, we must not forget. That's the church. Then we had civil society that made Moi do certain things. The 4CC, whatever they were called.
With his hands tied.
Yeah. And then we had politicians, political
activism.
Some of them were activists, some of them mainstream politicians who risked everything. Kenneth Stanley Jino Matiba, Charles Rubia, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and the young Turks, Gitobi Manyara, James Orengo, Raila Odinga, Mukisa Kitui. You know?
Wangari Maathai there.
Wangari Maathai, they were there. Mada Karua, they were young Turks. So we had 3. The church lost its voice. It allowed tribalism to take the better part of it. When Kibaki took, most mainstream church was Kikuyu. It went under because the Kikuyu was president. Civil society was mainly Kikuyu. It was buried under the rubble of tribalism. Your debris, the house they were living in collapsed.
Came down.
It was built on tribal blocks. And they were buried inside. So we lost 2 of the 3 critical voices. Unfortunately for this country, even the political voice was dimmed on the altar of materialism. When Kibaki took power and he put all these people in government, they began to see the trappings of power, the material benefits of being in power. And the hitherto people who are staying in Buruburu, Mountain View, at the very best, all trooped to Karen, Lavington, all of them. So we've lost it. And that's why I keep telling this country, we must celebrate Raila Odinga. He's among the few people, the few voices that remained to fight for this country. If he had gone the route, taken the route everybody else took, we would still be in the Moi days in terms of operations and in terms of our politics and democracy and human rights.
The church should perhaps listen and alienate
the church
the ideas of
The church died a natural death. They allowed themselves to die because they were just tribalists.
Calling for peace isn't enough from the church.
No, nobody listens to the church because they allowed themselves to be dragged into the pit of tribalism. Nobody can listen to them. They don't have the voice the church had. And Michuki said it. He said there's nothing we were fighting for. We were fighting to remove Moi. Stop many other stories. What? I thought we were fighting for which democracy? We were fighting to remove Moi.
And he's now out.
Yeah. And if you read Moi, and you are talking tribe. So while the rest of the country was busy thinking there was an agenda on democracy, human rights and everything, others had a tribal agenda to remove this Kalenjin so that the main tribe can rule, which is what is killing this country. So the church has no voice today.
But you are signaling there's room for it
to
revive.
sacrifice its voice on the altar of tribe.
Can it find its voice again? Can it regain it?
It is possible, but they must make very serious sacrifices. When the country is witnessing mayhem in Bomas of Kenya, where was Sapit?
Don't go there. Don't go there.
No, we have to go there because this is our country. And we have to tell the church, you have a huge following. The flock requires leadership.
A shepherd, true shepherd.
Be the shepherd to the flock. Provide that leadership. Pray for the nation. Pray for the leaders. Show courage. I want the church to put on their robes and go to State House and tell William Ruto, we shall not live here before you call Raila here. One group will go to Raila, another group will go to Ruto and tell them, we will not watch as you burn the country. Call your brother Raila Odinga here in State House. We are not leaving. Don't listen to small boys.
And no room for a brown envelope.
No, nothing. We are coming here. Even if you give us something, we shall return it to you.
We don't want tea.
We don't want anything from you. Just call Raila Odinga, sit down, save this country from destruction.
Just that.
That's the church I want to hear. I want the church to find its lost voice and help deliver the flock.
Thanksgiving ceremonies are not enough.
No, those are jokes.
You don't want... Are you calling us, by the way, for a Thanksgiving ceremony? You're about to retire.
You know,
the church needs to be there.
No, the church.
Ole Sapit, we'll invite him there.
We are saying the church must attend to serious matters of state, which is to bring Raila and the Ruto together.
That should be the topmost priority right now.
That is the only priority. There's no other priority.
Thanksgiving
In
ceremony
fact,
can come later.
if I may add, there is no point of anybody going to church on Sunday, this Sunday. There should be no church service this Sunday.
You cannot say that.
No, what for? The only effort the church should have is to save this country. Hii kwenda kuchukua tithes, sijui nini, sadaka takatifu, nonsense. They should just try. They should not even try. They should suspend everything until they bring Raila and Ruto to sit down and save the country. That's the only response. Anything else, if I hear things happening in the church,
your imam is
I'll
watching.
be very annoyed.
Your imam is watching.
And even my Muslim brothers, they should also participate actively in ensuring that these two gentlemen sit down to save their country.
There you have it from Herman Manyora. There is need for the church to regain its voice and really spearhead conversations that will bring forth peace and prosperity for our country at a time when Kenya is experiencing some sort of political turmoil, which is actually coming in the way of peace and prosperity for our economy. Until this point, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to watch our other shows on the channel, that is Political Conversations with Jadiel Kabiro, Candid Conversations with Evan Sokenyi, and Mundia Gitau coming in with the Opinion Scope, a very good show that really airs your grievances out there and what your message is to the government. You don't want to miss out on that. Until next time, I'm Richard Mwanjo. Always a pleasure.